Send me your poor, your homeless, and your chips. You're watching Techstrong, gang. Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Welcome here to Techstrong, gang. We've got a great show to go over with you today. We're going to talk about chip migration, immigration, and everything else to do with chips. We're going to talk a little bit about the economics of agentic AI and digital drag. No, not talking about transgender stuff though. In that regard though, we've got a great gang to talk to you about it with today, including a brand new gang member making his debut here on Techstrong, gang. He's actually no stranger to the Techstrong family. When I first launched DevOps.com 11, 12 years ago, this man was one of the key people helping us get it going. He keynoted for us, he shilled for us, he wrote for us, spoke for us, and he was one of the biggest names in DevOps, still is, my good friend Andi Mann. Hey Andy, how are you? Welcome.
Alan, I'm doing so well. It's so good to be here, mate.
You know what? This is going to be on the Techstrong Gang timeline. This will be a definite mark on the line. The day Andi Mann joins the gang. Thank you and welcome, man.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
All righty. Joining it, Andy's out in Boulder, Colorado, by the way, and way up high up there in the mountains. Well, it's a little early in the morning. He's not high up in the mountains, but maybe our next guest high up in the mountains it's the guitar man, Mitch Ashley. Hey, Mitch, how are you?
Doing very good. I can see Andy from here up there. Hey, Andy, how you doing in Boulder?
Can you see Russia is the question. And don't forget, they're your friend. That's what we're told. Anyway, let's move on from Colorado down to San Angelo, Texas, the tech capital of Southwest Texas. And our own editor, Amanda Rosani. Hey, Amanda, how are you?
Hello, good. Happy to be here as always.
Absolutely. And then from Texas, we'll go to the dean up in Harrison, New York, our chief content officer, Mike Vizard. Mike, I caught the end of the Yankee game yesterday. Those kids look good.
They do look good. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out, where this potato chip crisis is going to go next.
Let's put tariffs on chips. Okay. So our first segment today is on mass chip migration. Continuing the pilgrimage to DC. Now we have the TSMC CEO announcing $100 billion U.S. investment plan. We'll add that to the $2 trillion we're already investing, because you can never have enough AI and data centers, it seems, even if you don't have enough electricity. But Mike, what's the deal on this one?
Well, this is the latest instance of somebody traveling to see the president and bend the knee. But the Chinese government is also suggesting that basically Taiwan is in the middle of something that feels like a capital flight to the United States, and that all the chip manufacturing is going to move here. And maybe this is part of some larger geopolitical deal. But Andy, you have a very interesting perspective coming from an international background down under. What's the rest of the world saying about all this stuff?
Oh, look, the rest of the world can see that this is obvious. There's a lot of political and geopolitical implications around this, right? And exactly what you said, we saw with the CHIPS Act and stuff like that. There's obviously a great desire politically on both sides of the aisle to bring manufacturing of chips, especially AI chips, into the US. Drive the US forward as an AI powerhouse. We're a software powerhouse, but so much of the investment is going into hardware now, and we see for various chip manufacturers pledging $1 billion, couple of billion, 100 billion. It used to be cloud, $1 billion was the entry point, right? Everyone was pledging $1 billion investment. Now it seems that 100 billion is the mark. From the rest of the world, that drains a lot. There's a lot of brain drain has been going on, especially out of Asia into the US, into Europe for some time. And so for lots of, countries down in Asia Pacific, especially, which is where I'm from, you can probably tell from my Colorado accent, there's a lot of concern around where does that leave those nations? Where does that leave that region in terms of innovation and ability to execute on the next biggest trend? So it'll be interesting to see how much of that investment actually does manifest in the US, by the way. We always see under various administrations promises of investment, some of which come, some of which don't. There was a huge announcement in the previous run of this television show. Now that we're in the sequel, 2.0, in the first run, there was a massive investment promise made for various things, Siemens, air conditioning, other things, which didn't actually happen. So you know what? I'm going to sit and wait and see what happens in reality, not just in the newspapers. But yeah, there's a lot of trepidation down under in Asia Pac around how does that leave Asia prepared to take on this innovation revolution?
I've got some thoughts. So, Andy, I think you said some things there that demand a little digging in. First of all, from a pure geopolitical strategy here, Taiwan is in a tough place, right? Sooner or later, the thinking goes, China tries to absorb it, peacefully or not. Now, if you're Taiwan and you don't want to become part of China, even though technically, that's a whole different story, do you say, I want to keep Taiwan so valuable that the US and the rest of the world cannot let China absorb it? Right? I call that the Taiwanese patriot who wants to keep everything in Taiwan to keep Taiwan valuable so that it's too strategic to let the Chinese have it. Or do you take the selfish oligarch path, which says, hey, I'm going to get my money out of here and transplant my technology to the US, Western Europe, what have you. And this way, by the time the Chinese come in Taiwan, the Corleone family's out of the olive oil business. And that's that. And we're not doing it anymore. Could be a little bit of both. I will caution, as Andy said in the previous Trump administration, this same company, TSMC, announced, maybe it was $10 billion net, for a plant, it was in the Midwest, Wisconsin, never got off the ground. I don't know if it'll get off the ground here. Maybe this is just a way to placate the big baby in the White House and try to see if they could get an escape out of tariffs on this, right? And there could be that as well. The other thing, though, is, Andy, to your point about being an Asia-Pac country, and there's an old saying, nature abhors a vacuum. And that giant sucking sound you hear of all this money being pledged and resources being moved out of the region is that vacuum. Nature abhors it. Someone will come in to fill that vacuum, and we know who that someone is. What you're doing is you are like pulling back the ocean before the tsunami for the Chinese to come in, because China then will be the only game in town. Right? And so whether Australia wants to or not, or New Zealand, or Singapore, or any of the Asia-Pac region, maybe except for Japan, they're going to have no choice but to deal with China because they'll be the only game in town. Right? And with the US erecting more trade barriers and tariffs, all of these other countries are going to start doing free trade agreements among themselves, including Canada. Right, a Canada-Chinese connection.
Oh, Canada and Mexico already announced their response.
Yeah, well, no, that's their response to U.S. by adding tariffs. But they'll do China deals with less tariffs. So what's going to happen here is, you have Fort U.S. with its own little thing, and the rest of the world's still going to do business without us, perhaps. And that would not be a good result.
I'm not sure if this is the best analogy, but if you think about, what one of the things that got the Japanese into the war was the blockade, in World War II, was the blockade of oil. And AI, and whether it's AI software or hardware, is kind of the new oil of our commerce in our world, and everybody's scrambling to get it, right? They've got to have some. It can't be solely dependent upon one other organization. So on one hand, we're that game's playing out. The other side of it is we're playing this game of risk and what land can I grab? So we have these two things going on, and it's interesting. This kind of disruption makes for strange bedfellows. People signing up and partnering with China when they were U.S. allies, the U.S. partnering with Russia. It's going to be turbulent.
So, to your strange bedfellows comment, what are the odds that TMSC, the CEO, and Trump were discussing the partitioning of Intel during their meeting? It seems to me that that's the next part of this conversation, where the foundries go one way and the rest of Intel go the other way. And there's a lot of folks, especially former Intel executives, pushing back hard on this, saying Intel's about to make the turn. And yet they also announced that this manufacturing facility they were going to build in Ohio is now delayed till 2030. So, Alan, Intel for real or not for real?
Again, I have a few thoughts on this one. First of all, is anyone surprised that that plant is being delayed? Because here, let me tell you the real nitty-gritty, soft white, dirty secret that underlies all of this $2 trillion in AI investment. We have not proven in this country that we can build, maintain, scale chip foundries that are making cutting edge chips, right? The 3 nanos and 2 nanos and all of these and these high-end GPUs. We haven't even proven we can build phones here. And it's not something that you're going to snap your fingers and throw $2 trillion at and it's going to happen. It's going to take 10 years for us to build those foundries, train those workers, make this stuff at scale. And we're going to suffer in that meantime, right? Because I don't think anyone has really proven what, this isn't building cars, right? Building chips, building, high-end chips like this at scale is something. There's a reason why TSMC is who it is. They've been doing this for 30 years and they've kind of perfected it. There's no guarantee you're just going to pop up a factory in Gutenberg, Ohio, or wherever the heck it is, and voila, you're going to have chips coming out. This ain't Dairy Queen. So I worry about that. The other thing I worry about is, frankly, who the hell is the U.S. government to decide about chopping up Intel? I'd like to have Intel have a seat at the table, because the last time I checked, the U.S. government doesn't own U.S. industry. Even though they're in bed together in today's oligarchy, it's still a private company, and the shareholders of Intel should be the ones who make the decision about what Intel does going forward. So I'm against that whole thing.
I would beg to differ. If we can chop up Ukraine, what the hell's Intel? Easy.
You're right, but let's not get me started there. When was the last time you visited Ukraine?
Maybe we should do a show.
Tell me, you watched it on video. Let's not go.
I didn't watch the videos.
Yeah. But no, seriously, he could talk all he wants with the guy from TSMC. That's an Intel decision last I checked.
So, Andy, when you add all this up, though, it doesn't look to me like the cost of semiconductors, GPUs, or any of that stuff is coming down anytime soon in the next 10 years. In fact, it just may get more expensive ultimately. So is this going to hold back software development? Because the cost of building all these lovely AI apps is going to be higher than anybody anticipates.
Yeah, look, I think this will hold back some development, right? I mean, we already saw through, say, COVID and the supply chain and the slowdown in access to systems and equipment, that we saw slower R&D, slower innovation. And this will absolutely change that. We've already got bottlenecks around chips, around server access. Everyone wants to put, at least 10 billion into R&D on their blue sky projects around AI. Maybe some of it might even pay back some revenue at some point. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, I absolutely believe this will slow down. There are other factors, of course, which may be throttling as well. Energy production is obviously the big one. And I know in this part of the world here in Colorado, up in Wyoming, Lots of announcements around data center production and clean energy and all that sort of stuff. So it's going to be a lot of different things. But yes, I would absolutely expect this to be a drag.
Yeah, to your point, a lot of people are complaining that Microsoft quietly upgraded them and to the higher performing OpenAI driven version of Office, and didn't ask them whether that they wanted the higher performing, more costly version. And a lot of people are complaining, saying, you know what, the ROI on that AI capability isn't worth that, and they want to go back to their normal license. So I think we're going to see a lot more of those conversations going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, the people I talk to in leadership roles around sort of desktop and operating system and so forth are absolutely ropeable about that. Because all of a sudden, it's not just that they're not finding ROI, they're finding negative cost driver because people are messing around with this AI on their desktop when they should be getting to work, and they're getting it all wrong because the AI is still not really up to scratch.
I was disappointed in the Microsoft Copilot features. I got them in my Office 365. I got that little symbol. I said, oh, let me click it. And disappointed in it.
So I have a question, just been quietly listening. So the question that comes to my mind, something you said, Alan. So we haven't done too well with chip manufacturing here in the US, and now this is a big delay. We're going to be so behind. Is it worth trying to have the chip manufacturing here in the US? Because I know price is probably going to be more expensive here. Is the return on investment going to be worth it, or are we going to be so behind by the time we even...
I'm glad you asked this, Amanda. So for all of those out there with the same question as Amanda, make no mistake, it is a worthy goal and a strategic goal for the U.S. to say we want to be independent, like we're energy independent versus we want to be chip independent. We want to control the manufacture of GPUs, AI chips, all semiconductor chips. And we want to sell them to the rest of the world if they'll take them from us. But hold on one second, Mitch. There's a gap between wishing it and doing it. And the question is, when the rest of the world is frankly pissed off about it, where are you getting those chips during those gap? And that gap could be 5 to 10 years, right? What are you going to do for the next 5 to 10 years? Because if you're going to wait 5 to 10 years to get your chips, game's over. Game's over.
Alan, I think the way to look at it is the commodity chips, even if people didn't want to sell them to us, we can get those through back channel. It's the quantum, it's the AI chips, things that are cutting edge. That's what we really need to own. Because yes, it's going to be more expensive to develop it here, but if what we are creating is far superior and only we have that advantage, whether it's a 6 or 12 month or whatever, that's what I think we want to make here, because we can get memory chips from here and whatever chips to build laptops and et cetera. I don't think that's where the value is. It's on the cutting edge for the US.
You know where this falls apart? There isn't going to be enough rare metals in Utah to drive all this. And so if we don't get some help from overseas in terms of, maybe that's why we want to do deals with somebody who's at war with Russia,
or take over Greenland or all these other things. Yeah, but this isn't the Dutch East India Company, and this ain't the 1600s. The imperialist days are over. Forget it. And Mitch, yes, you want to build, but you got to start somewhere, and making commodity chips is a start. But it's building those other chips that you're talking about, I'm telling you, building the fabs for them, getting the know-how, getting the kinks worked out is a 5-year minimum.
It is, but you have the advantage of that's where you're starting, as opposed to you have a huge infrastructure built up of doing, current generation, and now you've got to get to the next level to be able to do the GPUs and quantum chips. So yes, I agree. This is not a turnkey operation. 5 years would be great if we were up
5 years optimistically.
It's optimistic. I agree.
And just on that point though, it's not like TMSC has this manufacturing of GPUs down. The cost of GPUs is high because they can't produce enough of them. So, there's nobody has a correct answer here on either side of the pond, as it were.
It's going to be an interesting time. But like I opened it up with under that Statue of Liberty, send me your poor, your homeless, whatever, and your chips. Let's see what happens. You're watching Techstrong, gang. We'll be right back.
Discover Techstrong Group, the epicenter of tech innovation. We're your go-to for reaching IT leaders and practitioners worldwide. Our secret? Impactful content that sparks awareness, engagement, and top-quality leads. With us, you'll access editorial websites, streaming videos, virtual events, custom content, analyst research, and more. Join our satisfied clients. Let's revolutionize your tech journey. Contact us today and tell your story to the world in the most powerful way with Techstrong Group.
Hey folks, we're back, and as promised, we're talking about the rise of the AI agent economy. It's still early days, but AI agents will communicate with each other, and eventually they will drive transactions, and they may decide to do things based on how they're programmed or hallucinate, depending on how things go. But Mitch, I know that Futurum Group is really putting a lot of investment into researching AI agents, and I know you put out a report recently around Salesforce and what they're doing, and I expect more to come. But is this just the beginning?
Well, just to plug, I would really recommend folks follow the analyst at Futurum, because we're looking at not just the chips, but also agents, software development, infrastructure, security, and all the impact that AI is already having. I'm thinking about Alan's comment of trying Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and being disappointed, or like I am with Apple Intelligence. What's happening behind the scenes is people are rushing to figure out how to use the LLMs and use no-code, natural language, as well as traditional programming languages to create agents and see what we can do. I mean, it is still at the experimental stage, but people are starting to get their legs under them. And, we even see, LangGraph issuing pre-built agents that you can use to talk to their models. We did this analysis for Salesforce, or I was sponsored by Salesforce. It's our own independent analysis, but looking at what the ROI and the total cost of ownership, and there's some impressive numbers, it's early. But I think the people who win right now are the people that focus on agents that actually are helpful, not just agents. Like, find a problem that your agent solves and customers who want you to solve it, and they'll go, this is amazing. When we throw generic tools at people, here you go, here's ChatGPT, here you go, here's Copilot in your Microsoft Word document, most people are not going to spend the time to figure out how to make that work for them if they can. So the agentic agent and the agent topic it's across the board. I mean, we just had Sonatype announce some agent capabilities in their tools. OpenText has. Everybody is announcing both AI and agent-based capabilities. So it's interesting time for sure.
Yeah, I think every other article in Techstrong AI is about a new AI agent.
There you go. Andy, let me ask you something. So let's say that I have an AI agent and it is optimized for me to buy this thing at the lowest possible cost. And let's say that you have an AI agent that's optimized to sell this thing at the highest amount of profit. Are our two agents going to meet somewhere in an alleyway and we're going to have a rumble to sort this out? Or how does that kind of play out in your mind?
Yeah, look, it's going to be fun to watch, at least as an observer. I don't know if you remember when the personal digital assistants first started to come out. You had your Alexas and you had your Siri. Like, stop. My button just started lighting up because I said her name, didn't I? Anyway, you've got all these assistants, and you remember at one point they got them talking to each other, and they just had a conversation for like 3 hours, and nothing came out. I think there's going to be a little bit of that. My biggest concern with agentic at the moment is really just about known knowns and unknown unknowns. Going back to that other Donald, the idea of AI is really good at solving known knowns. Humans are a plethora of unknown unknowns. So look, when we all know this, you go online, you go and use the chat agent. And yesterday I had to do a whole bunch of stuff with my satellite radio, and I've got 2 cars, and one's active and one's inactive, and I've got a special deal on one, but that's coming to an end, and then I got another special deal. I don't know any agent that will deal with that complexity right now. But if all I needed to do was go online and renew my existing subscription, agentic AI is going to take care of that. So look, I think there's great opportunity in this, but I'm looking forward to the hallucinations when agentic AI talks to agentic AI, and no, they're never going to come to an agreement. You kidding me?
So I'll tell you something. I remember when I first met Andi Mann, he was at CA. And I was at a CA World in Las Vegas. They used to do a nice job at CA World in Las Vegas. And I sat through a session. I'm trying to remember who, it might have been Andi who presented, or maybe it was Ayman Zarwi, who's president at the time. But it was the first time I became familiar with the term, the AI economy. Remember that, Andi? And this was 2013, 2014, maybe 2015 at the latest. And it was the AI economy, in that we're going to have a whole economy based upon AIs, talking to AIs, not AIs, excuse me, APIs, the API economy. And APIs talking to APIs. And I said, wow, you really think so? Oh yeah, no doubt about it, mate. It was Andi who was giving that. And I thought it was kind of early. As we sit here today, 57% of all the traffic on the internet is API to API. There is an API economy. Might have taken 10 years. Same 10 years it's going to take us to build those chips. Maybe by the time the chips are built, the agentic AI economy will be real as well. But I had an interesting conversation yesterday. I'm playing with this tool. I'm actually paying for it, which goes against my principle. But it's called Hoop AI, Hoop. And it's pretty cool. It sits on, if you're on a Mac, you could use their app. If not, it has bots that go into Zoom, Google Meet, your email, Slack, all the usuals. And it gathers everything that people are telling you, wanting you. And from it, the AI pulls out tasks. And then you could decide, is this a real task you want to do? Ignore it, whatever. So they, like all good young companies, and by the way, these are from some of the founders of Trello. Okay, so they know a little bit about task management and stuff like that. So they reached out and they said, hey, you're a beta user. Why are they charging for beta? But you're a beta user and we'd like to do an interview, much like you used to do, Mitch, when we were at Still Secure. And I spoke to one of the co-founders, a woman named Stella, yesterday for about 45 minutes. And the whole agentic AI, I said, look, I'd like not only to do the task, create a task for me, but if it's something sort of run of the mill, can I have an agent that just goes and does it and then crosses it off? That's where I really want to be. I don't need 30 new tasks every day. I need something that's going to do the basic task. And she said, we've thought a lot about that in version 2, version 3 of the product, because version 2 is going to be teamwork, version 3, agents. And she said, the problem is, why do you think people are going to use our agent? Because like Mitch said, every piece of software you have today has an agent or is building an agent. So as part of this agentic AI economy, like the API economy, what agent are you going to use to do the task? Do you want the task manager's agent to do it? Or does that talk to someone else's agent? How many agents do we need? How many agents do we have? How do we, I don't want agents just talking to agents for the sake of talking. But let's get something done. And I think that's the problem.
I want to have a secret agent that offloads all my shit over to your agent. So.
Well, the upward leaping monkey agent. Hey, Alan, this is a good example of what I'm talking about, though, because I tried out the Hoop first of all, I looked at what it does after I tried it and said, why the heck would I pay $20 a month for that? I can't imagine that's worth $20. But it's, startups go through these phases of kind of figuring out, are we solving a good problem or not? And will the market pay for it? It's a good example of, I don't need another agent to tell me the 20 things that I already know, 18 of them I have to get done. I don't need another barking dog telling me I got work to do. I know I got work to do. Help me do the work. Help me get something done. Um, Futurum did another study talking to 200 CEOs at very, very large organizations and out of the top 200. And, they see AI, their top thing is automation. That's what they want AI to do for them. They want it to do tasks for them. They're talking about business processes, et cetera, not being assistants to people. You're distracting them, maybe decreasing productivity. Now, AI projects internally still have a high failure rate. We're early in this, but I think that's what we all have to have a critical eye towards of, is it a novelty? Is it not really a problem that needs to be solved, or that is a problem I need solved? Is this doing something for me, my business, my operation that actually has an ROI to it?
Yeah, and Mitch, I think there's an aspect here of pilot versus co-pilot. I don't need more co-pilots. I need some pilots, to what Alan was saying. So people are actually some agents that are actually going to do the job. But we're coming at it from the wrong angle. Well, so many software businesses, at least, are coming at it, I think, from the wrong angle, which is, and you said it, Mitch, find a problem, fix a problem. Don't just release AI. Here, have some AI. Okay, that and $3.50 gets me a cup of coffee if I'm lucky. But it doesn't solve a problem. Find a problem, fix a problem. And that's why I think we're having challenges around, well, agentic and chat GPT and Gen AI generally as well, is too many people are going at the technology going, oh, wow, this is cool. And it is cool. It does amazing things for playtime. It doesn't really help me get my job done. Now, I think and again, to Alan's point, the co-pilot versus pilot, I want AI to be augmentation to start with. I want it to be automation to start with, right? Automated intelligence, augmented intelligence. I think it's a stepwise approach to artificial, and we need to get this maturity map going. And we know this map exists. We've done it with automation before, right? This idea of trust but verify, put in guardrails, not roadblocks, and start to find a problem, fix a problem. I think there's a lot of ways agentic can go here, but as long as people are focusing on co-pilots that are AI enabled and step 3, I don't know, underpants gnome kind of territory now, I think we're not going to get to a solution that we're happy with.
So I would just say, though, the issue is that those AI models don't do the same thing the same way twice. And if you're running a business process, you need it to be done the same way every time. And that's where the disconnect is going to be.
So I have 2 questions. First of all, is there like a catalog of AI agents that people could shop through? So I think that might be helpful, where they can hand select a number of AI agents that work together for their needs. And then number 2, has there been any study, like a mass study, where people share something they wish they had an AI agent for, and they could put that together and determine the most effective AI agents that they should come up with?
It's a good. You have the best questions, Amanda. That's why you're such a great interviewer on Techstrong TV. I don't know of a directory one to have to be updated.
Sounds like a business plan to me, Mitch.
There you go. I think even the second question I think is a great one, which is take it down a level. Let's talk about the problems that we need solved, and can we put AI to it? I heard one of the people from the CTO office at Dell talking about how they are tackling. This is a public conversation, so how they're tackling using AI in development. And the ideas, there are a plethora of ideas, but they had a process where they kind of winnowed them down to like, okay, what are the ones we really think have a value to it, an ROI, invest some experimentation. And then they have a few projects, maybe it's a few dozen or so, that are really investing in AI to solve that specific problem. So it's exactly what you're talking about, Amanda. And I think organizations have to do that for themselves, right? Another thing, I think we're kind of missing the point on how we're selling agents. I look at OpenAI, and you have to pay extra for operator. You have to pay at the higher end. You know what? Is it the AI agent or is it the stickiness of the agent? If I build a lot of stuff with somebody's agent, I'm not going to move off of that anytime soon. If it's bringing value to me, that's the give it to me free, get me stuck. I will live with that for a long time, and I'm happy to pay you money when I see value from it. We don't hear any great things happening with people doing things with Cursor. We do there, but with Operator from OpenAI. So it tells me, is it really that valuable yet?
Yeah. Like everything else AI, a lot of it is on the come, Mitch. Yeah. All right. Let's take a break here. We've got one more great segment left for today's Techstrong Gang, talking about digital drag. No, it's not some show in Key West. You're watching Techstrong Gang.
SecurityBoulevard.com is the leading resource for news, analysis, and education on challenges facing the cybersecurity industry. SecurityBoulevard.com covers all aspects of cybersecurity, including data security, DevSecOps, cloud security, application security, network security, security threats, and more. SecurityBoulevard.com has the largest selection of security content, featuring breaking news, blog posts, podcasts, and more. Visit www.securityboulevard.com to learn more. SecurityBoulevard.com, home of Security Bloggers Network.
Hey folks, we're back and we're talking about a report from Soho where they did an analysis that says, well, how far are people along in their digital business transformation initiatives? And I think it suggests that maybe a third are kind of stuck, and it's probably more than that. But Amanda, you run Digital CXO for us, and that's where this article is. What's your assessment of what's going on here? I mean, we seem to be all kind of like enthused, and now we're kind of tangled up in each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So it was an interesting study because several key points that I noticed. First of all, it's the in-office workers that are lagging behind versus the remote hybrid workers, which seem to be experimenting and taking on more effective tools. So that's kind of interesting. Secondly, is the reliance on all these spreadsheets. We were talking about this earlier in the show. They're still relying on spreadsheets and these old methods of just sharing passwords ad hoc and not embracing AI for security, whereas they are for other things. So I found that interesting. I had typed out a few other key points. It's just the use of shadow IT too is a big one, where they're just using all these tools and nobody's keeping track. So we're a little behind in digital transformation compared to other countries, but primarily in the not in the remote and hybrid, but the people who are going to work.
So I would also emphasize in that regard, it's not that we're lagging in digital transformation. We do a great job digitally. You could order and get virtually anything you want digitally today. Anything, just about. This survey is really for digital transformation in the workplace. So how are workers transforming into digital? And it's not that they're not digital, right? Using a spreadsheet is still digital. It's are they leveraging digital technologies to improve productivity? I think is a better. But whenever I get surveys like this, and I'm jaded now from doing this all these years, I look at who put out the survey, what do they sell? And that pretty much will tell you what the survey is going to say. And I think there's a case of that.
I think I'm going blind trying to enter data into this cell over here in this spreadsheet because it's so small. I cannot see what the hell is going on inside it. And then
well, I can tell you what your vision problems are from, Mike, but
It gets worse as the day goes on.
so, so, so so I will jump to Andy and just say, I keep feeling like we're using the wrong tools for the wrong jobs all the time.
Mate,
Yes.
this is the story of tech writ large, right? The rush to adoption and then the stall. We see it every single revolution. We saw it. You remember virtual stall 15 years, 20 years ago when we were first meeting, Mike? We were talking about virtual stall. Yeah, adoption of virtualization followed the same pattern. Big rush to adopt, lots of gains, obvious ROI. Then how are we going to manage this? How are we going to secure this? How are we going to back it up? How are we going to do governance, compliance? Is it really doing the ROI, the effort, the productivity that we wanted it to? Cloud computing was the same. Oh, and by the way, all of this was also rogue IT and shadow IT to Amanda's research. We had rogue IT for mobile apps, remember? We had rogue IT for virtual services, for cloud services. I remember standing up in front of a conference, maybe it was one of yours, Alan, and asking the audience, put your hands up if you don't have any of your workers using SaaS today. This is like in 2014 or something. And a whole bunch of people put their hands up and I said, no, put your hands down. Everyone is using SaaS, right? Look, everyone is using AI. Everyone is using all these technologies. They're trying to get it right. They're using spreadsheets, but they're also using Google Sheets and they're doing some predictive and they're using some Copilot. But it's stalling out because we're trying to govern, we're trying to manage, we're trying to find better use cases. We've got the obvious ones under control. We've done the it's obviously going to pay back. Now we're trying to struggle to find the real big, nuts to crack now. So I think Alan's right. We've done a lot of great work on digital transformation as consumers, as enterprises, but we're getting to that stall point, and I think this is entirely predictable.
Crossing the chasm model right there. But it's a good stuff on digital CXO. Hey, we've got to pull out of this one. We are a little overtime today. Apologize. Of course, we still have a full day of Techstrong.tv immediately following us here on the gang, so stay tuned for that. And just a quick plug, tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern Time, LinkedIn Live, I'll be live. Shimmy says, we're talking tariffs and tech. So if you've got something good to say about it, join me on there. I look forward to it. Until tomorrow, though, Andy, welcome to the gang, man. You came out with flying colors. Thank you. Mike, Mitchell, Amanda, absolutely. We'll have you back on again real soon. You'll be in the regular rotation. For the rest of us here, thank you for watching Techstrong Gang. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Stay tuned now for some great Techstrong TV.